Hi, my name is Cherie and welcome to my journey. You know, I have been watching some videos comparing how, you know, old products have been, you know, repackaged and remarketed and diluted, right? So that they could get more money out of you and the diluted solutions, didn't really work as well as, being fully operational, that you end up having to buy new appliances and new machinery and stuff like that, right? It's terrible. It's just terrible to even think the way we let commercialism, you know, cause us to be, sellouts, right? Basically, when we get so material that we justify the profit as just money in our pocket, as if, we're not taking it from, you know, the other people and they're less wealthy and they're not really getting what they thought they paid for. And yeah, hold on. So today is cold enough for me to be wearing a jacket, long sleeves, leggings, right? But I wanted to show you my first flowers. They're here. Yeah. Aren't they beautiful? Yeah. This is going to be covered with them in just a minute. You can see them budding, right? Also put some daisies out here, some little mums, And for me, that's better than cut flowers any day, even if they last the same lifespan, right? This lady, Rosalind, shout out to her, she said she had bought her some flowers from a Whole Foods store and they lasted her 2 weeks, right? And I'm like, wow, that's beautiful, right? When you get flowers that will last you 2 whole weeks. And then that immediately, sent me back to, some of the things that I had been watching, right? Which is, how they've, have been experimenting with different products, edible and non-edible, to stop, the aging, the deterioration, to increase the lifespan, of different products, right? First we noticed it with the butter, right? We're like, wow, how is it that we can keep butter for months? And it's supposed to be a dairy product. Okay. Then we started thinking, hey, how long have we had this bread? Right? We can't even remember when we bought the bread. They're like, dang, it must have been a long time. We got to go through receipts to find out how long it was we had bought that bread. Only to find out that, dang, this bread is 2 weeks old. And it don't have any mold on it, so we still gonna eat the thing. Oh my God. And shout out to Adam, right? To Tom's neighborhood, right? I've been watching him, right? And he was talking about how he had left a box of macaroni in his house 7 years beyond the Best Buy sale date. And he ate it, right? He said he ate it on camera. Okay, I didn't watch that particular film because I'm like, yeah, you know, you picked a dehydrated product, right? And that's typically what the MREs, right? They are dehydrated products, right? Some of them claim to have, you know, 10, 20, 30, indefinite, you know, usable food products because they were dehydrated and dehydration can be brought. Now, one experiment that I did myself, right, was rehydrating, well, two, right? I rehydrated some raisins that I put into my taquitos, right? My beef taquitos. And I also rehydrated some red peppers, you know, so that I could make some hot sauce, right? I've been eating the hot sauce like crazy. It's good, right? I made it myself, you know. It's got the right amount of burn to it, right? You can feel it on your lips, you know. You can feel it even after, you know, you swallow in your throat, you know, just the way you like it, right? Sometimes we eat stuff we don't like the taste. Now, Tabasco, I like the heat of Tabasco, but I don't like the taste of Tabasco. There was a period of time that I did like the taste of Tabasco, believe it or not. Yeah, I did. No other hot sauce could, you know, satisfy me. But believe me, I promise you, if you were to put Tabasco in front of me, should I go there? Nah. I'll go over here where there's stores to shop at in the meantime. The Tabasco would lose out, right? Tabasco sauce would lose out because the hot sauce that I created, that I made myself, right, has two different kinds of vinegar. It has the applesauce vinegar, the apple cider vinegar, and also the distilled vinegar, of which I like both, right? And I sweetened it with 2 natural fruits, along with a very little touch of honey. So, oh my gosh, it's so good to me. I couldn't even give it away. I couldn't sell it. You know, because I'm like, nah, you know, I'm gonna want this, right? I'm gonna want this. And I know some people will say, well, if you made it, can't you recreate it? Yeah, but at the time that I was making it, I didn't do exact calculations, right? I was kind of winging it, you know, just saying, I like this taste. Wonder what it would taste like, right? And yeah, so, and of course that came as a result of me sitting up there looking at this, saying to myself, you know, I want to buy some hot sauce. And I was looking at this container. It was a huge container, right? It was like I want to say a 64 fluid ounce of hot sauce, and they wanted like $15 for it, right? And that doesn't include shipping. I'm like, no. That's why I ended up making my own hot sauce, right? And because, you know, I had went somewhere and they had the dehydrated, you know, peppers in there, and I was like, you know, it was in the back of my mind to make my own hot sauce back then. I didn't even realize it, right? Dehydrated and fermented foods are probably the best way to go when it comes to prolonging the usage of food items. At least I believe it. That's what I was told. And well, I believe it, and there are other people out there that agree. They also believe it, right? They don't necessarily agree, but they also believe that that's the case, right? Although the one thing that I can't get past, right? Because of course, when we think about fermented, right? Alcohol is fermented, so they love that alcohol. That you don't have to argue with them, no way, no how, about fermented alcohol. And they'll also say, yeah, alcohol does have medicinal properties. Yeah. But when we think of fermented food, my mind instantly goes to sauerkraut, right? And I never really could get with the sauerkraut, even though I love cabbage. I love cabbage cooked most ways, any kind of way except fermented. Do I understand that? No, I don't. I don't know. Maybe I should try it. I had bought me a jar of sauerkraut. It sat in my cupboard for, I think, about 4 or 5 years. Right? And I never wanted to eat it. Never. Okay? Didn't care, right, if it spoiled up there in that cabinet. Didn't want to throw it away either. Right? But, yeah, didn't want to eat it. So, I have been watching, these videos where they were telling us how we could extend the life of our appliances, extend the life of our vehicles, extend the life of the wood products that we might be, using and furnishing our house with, how to, repair them, keep them looking great, how we get charged, $800 to $8,000 for, repairing, cracks and stuff with, with products that that you can find at, Home Depot that cost, $10 and $25. Like, what? Right? And of course they'll say it's the expertise, it's the technology, but let's face it, the technology, had been kept away from most people, right? That's why some people get education and some people don't get education, so that there's a disparity where some people can charge people, the fact that they've been educated. Now, a lot of times, our society had got to a point where, you didn't have to go through these channels of actually, studying specific amount of hours that you could challenge the test. If you had the knowledge and you could apply the knowledge, you could challenge the test. It seems like they're trying to take those away from y'all, right? That's sad, because a lot of us, we can't dedicate, any part of our adult life, into school years. Even if we wanted to, we couldn't, right? Sometimes the dysfunction had taken people out, right? Where you have to now fend for, your livelihood. You don't have time, to try to study to live a better life, right? And then other people, hell, they make enough money where, they could just provide you a lifestyle so you could go to school and have your own place, right? It's similar to a scholarship, but it's not really, granted through, the scholarship program. And there are people out there that get those, right? Today I'm out here, like I said, the weather is kind of chilly. Let me see what the temperature says now that I've been out here a minute. 63. It's 63. 63 today actually feels cold. It feels cold because we've been used to 80 and 90 at 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So now that we're feeling 63 degrees at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and the clouds are cloudy and there's wind, it feels cold. So that's why I got out a coat. I got long sleeves. I was wearing shorts, but I had to put on some leggings over this, right? Because I'm going to take this stuff off when I get to the house, right? Because it ain't, the house temperature is controlled. But outside it's not. But I had came out here to wash some clothes. Let me make sure I got enough on my app, because I'm going to the Tide laundromat, and they encourage everybody to use an app. And if they use the app, they can also get credit, for usage and get free drying or free washing. Just depends on how much, washing and drying that they do. Let's see. Oh yeah. We only have 58 cents on our Tide balance, so we're gonna have to add some more. And you can set it up to where you can reload, right? So wallet successfully reloaded. So now I have $10 and 58 cents to wash clothes. I have loyalty points earned, 1,428. I can use that for the drying. Yeah, it was so chilly today that it was nice to feel good about drinking warm coffee. Basically because I did run out of milk, and I have been scanning YouTube for some recipes on how to make some oat milk, right? Most of them, they're calling for like 4 cups of oatmeal, right? And the longer you keep it, the chances of it thickening up and appearing to be kind of slimy, and I'm like, ooh, I don't want that, So I've been watching some of those videos, but I am gonna, try to make a small portion of oat milk that I could use up pretty quick, because I've been going through like gallons of milk real fast, because that's part of my protein in my protein coffee. And since it's an iced coffee, yeah, it's good. And while I was getting dressed today, I had put on these shoes, right? Let me show you these shoes.